It's AFA Today live from New York. Let's check Lady Liberty one more time. If you're watching on the AFA channel, yep, she's still sweating. It's a hot one. No, we're glad you're with us in the New York control room for AFA Today. And the poll that's up at onenewsnow.com, don't forget to vote in that. Passage of the Employment Non-Discrimination Act would be just another indicator of the moral deterioration of America. How do you answer? Agree, disagree, or unsure? And you can vote in that and then see the results as you vote. In fact, I'm going to vote, and then I'm going to view the results. And right now, about 80%, just a little over 80% are agreeing. 0 are unsure. They either 20% disagree, 80, let's call it 80%. Agree. And again, you can also read my current column, The Looming Conflict, at onenewsnow.com as well. It details some of the stuff. And some of the reason why I write this is because over the weekend there were a couple of, I would say, rather significant stories that pretty much got ignored by every other media outlet on the planet. LifeSite News was the first one to report on this one. And I do want to tell you that the content of this next story is graphic from the conditions that it is just a very harsh reality to understand that human beings did this to a child. But you need to know. The world has the right to know because the media has propped up some of the players in this story. Let me just take you to Sydney, July 3rd, 2013. Police in Australia described as depraved the case of a 6-year-old boy who had been repeatedly abused by his adoptive fathers and other men who were part of an international child porn syndicate known as the Boy Lovers Network. Authorities in Australia and the U.S. worked together to arrest and charge the men after it emerged that the boy had been offered to men in Australia, the U.S., France, and Germany for sexual exploitation and the production of child pornography from a very young age. Last week, one of the men, an American named Mark J. Newton, 42, was jailed in the U.S. for 40 years in order to pay about $400,000 in restitution to the child, while the other, Peter Trong, 36, from New Zealand, awaits sentencing in his home country. None of these cases are very good, Detective Inspector John Rouse, who heads Australia's Queensland Police Task Force group, which investigates online child exploitation and abuse, told the French press agency. What's pretty sad about this one is the way this child came into their lives. It's just really a tragedy. It's extremely depraved. According to reports, Newton and Trong lived in Cairns, Australia at the time. They began looking for a surrogate mother to give birth to a child in 2002. The same-sex couple finally found a woman in Russia who gave birth to their child. For a fee of $8,000, Mark Newton is believed to be the biological father of the child. They dubbed him Adam in order to protect his anonymity. He was handed over to Newton and Trong 5 days after his birth in 2005, which in itself is a crime. To say to a child, you don't get to live with your mother, we're going to give you to these two men who cannot biologically supply what you need. Australian media covered Adam's arrival home, describing the two men as happy, loving fathers, and that's what the press did. Oh, isn't this a wonderful thing? They're having a child. No, they're not having a child. Another person had a child in which one of these men contributed to. But these two men are not having a child. In a case of bitter irony, in one article, Mark told a reporter that authorities had questioned he and Peter at length when they first brought Adam to Australia and that he was sure they were under suspicion of pedophilia. But he said, we're just a family like any other family. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Your reaction to this story that was not reported in most of the major media, and jolly well should have been. On July 14th, 2010, when Adam was 5 years old, ABC Far North Queensland broadcast a story titled "Two Dads Are Better Than One," which stated that becoming parents was hard work for couples who engage in homosexuality, Pete and Mark, but they'd do it all over again if they had to. We decided we would have a child, that it was time for us to have a family, Newton and Trong told ABC. We wanted to experience the joys of fatherhood. That's odd, because fatherhood requires a female at some point to be involved. Fatherhood actually requires two opposite genders coming together to create the child. It's a happy, relaxed family, ABC said, but it wasn't an easy road to get there. After many hurdles, Adam was born by surrogacy in Russia. Russian news service RT Novosti reported that Adam began to be sexually abused by his same-sex dads as early as 22 months of age. Later on, he reported they made Adam available for sex with other members of the pedophile ring in Australia, France, Germany, and the U.S., for which Newton and Trong had to travel extensively. Police investigators have found proof of at least 8 men in these countries having contact with Adam when he was between the ages of 2 and 6. 888-589-8840. Does this not say... See, here's the problem. The news media was willing to prop them up as these great examples of fathers that, were of the same gender. And so if they can, look at how loving they are. They're opening their home to this child. They're going to raise a son. 2 other men, American residents, John Powell, 41, a Florida-based lawyer, and Jason Batuo, a 36-year-old Michigan tennis coach, have also been charged, according to Australia's Channel 7. Police began the investigation that led to the arrest after a chance discovery of suspicious images during a raid on the home of a child sex offender in New Zealand. Australian police said the images themselves were not illegal but were recognized as modeling shots. Further investigations unearthed chat logs between Newton and Trong and other members of the Boy Lovers Network. When police raided the homosexual couple's home in Cairns, they found enough evidence on the computers and other video devices to ensure their arrest. Adam was removed and placed in foster care. Okay, so these 2 men don't want to be told what to do. They don't want God to tell them what to do. They don't want society to tell them what to do. They don't want anybody to tell them what to do. Don't tell me what I'm supposed to do. I am who I am. I have to be who I am, and no one can stop me. They get bored with that after a while. So they say, hey, let's have a baby. Because in bizarro land, people that can't produce a biological baby say, let's have a baby. In bizarro land, that's what we say. Oh, me and the local tree, we're going to get married. Why? Because we can. If you hold anything against us, then you're some sort of homophobic person or tree-phobic person or whatever the slander is that they want to lay at. You can't talk about natural design. You can't mention God under any circumstances whatsoever. Here you have to pretend in bizarro land, whenever everything's backwards, that it's just exactly normal, as it's supposed to be. So 2 men wishing to father a child, which again is impossible between the 2 of themselves, are supposed to not be suspicious at all when it comes to having a son. And the Boy Scouts are wondering why people were saying maybe it's not a good idea for us to change our to put people who are sexually attracted to boys in contact with boys, whether they be women or men. Let's not do that. So now, in bizarro world, we have to at all times divorce logic from reality and say what is politically correct. That's what we're supposed to say. Our mouth is supposed to run on the treadmill of political correctness. And what happens? A boy is conceived, given birth to, I might add, made in the image of God, and then repetitively abused. And when they got bored abusing them themselves, they made him available for others to abuse. 888-589-8840. Now, if you disagree with me on this, if you think I'm being unfair, I want you to call because I want you to go to the front of the line. I want to hear in what way you think I'm being unfair. 888-589-8840. 8840. Let's start with John calling from Virginia. John, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Hi.
Hey, Kevin. God bless for all the work y'all do. Just
Thank
love your station. Hey, look. The flesh says, you know what? I just want to go out and just wring their necks. But the biblical part and the Christian part says, you know what? I cannot wait. I cannot wait till God delivers his judgment to these people. It's one thing to do that to a child, but to bring a child into the world for that purpose. Are you kidding me? And then to pass that child around. Oh my goodness, what is this world coming to? My heart goes out. There's nothing I can do except, vote for who I'm supposed to vote for biblically. And my comment is, you know what? God bless this nation, and I just wish I was a fly on the wall when these guys go up before a true living God.
I thank you for that, John. Thank you for your encouragement. I don't want to be a fly on that wall. I don't trust myself. I'm the father of 3 sons. You do this to a boy. You do this to a boy that you purposefully brought into this world. I have no ability to respond to this. This is beyond my human capacity as a human being. This is where I think if you commit rape against children, you should get the death penalty. I've always believed that, because I don't have the ability. We don't have the ability, in my mind, humans don't have the ability to sufficiently pass judgment on something that's this evil. So in my mind, I'm like, just let God do it. Let him take care of it. Send them to him now and let him pronounce whatever judgment needs to be done. Of course, it takes 25 years and you have to go through all of the appeals. So for those of you that say, well, what about the guy hearing the gospel? Well, he probably will have a chance to do that. I hope that he does. I am humanly incapable of feeling empathy for men that do this. And it's not because I hate these men. I don't hate these men. I do hope they find God. I do want God's best for them. But when you decide to injure children, you are going to an entirely different level of evil. And it's to a level that I can't comprehend. I can't explain. So I don't have the capacity to sit as judge and juror on that. To me, that's only the kind of evil that God can truly deal with. 888-589-8840. Of course, that probably makes me bad in some way, but I'm just telling you my foibles. Brent in Texas, you're up next on AFR Talk. AFA Today is the show. Kevin McCullough, glad you're here. Brent in Texas, you're up next.
Yeah, Kevin, had a quick comment there. I agree with you 100%. I actually came from a broken home, and I know what it's like when one parent is not there. Even though I had a very good step parent there, it still affects you, and I can't imagine a situation like this. I think it's a tragedy. And I'm actually 24 years as a funeral director, and there is a saying on the wall at one of the casket companies that says you can measure with pinpoint accuracy the degradation of a society by how it buries its dead. And what we mean by that is cremation is almost 50% right now. People love money more than they love, honoring their family member. And I think it's evident throughout all of society, and it's a real tragedy. And that's what I want to say to you today, Kevin.
All right, Brent. Thank you for your encouragement. Appreciate it. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Todd in Ohio. Todd, you're on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate everything you guys do and taking a stand in this stuff.
Thank you.
Our society is just headlong. I mean, when we have priests that are beheaded, and then you got the Boy Scouts doing what they're doing. I mean, I don't know what more we can do other than try to show people the light, one person at a time. And as a pastor, that's what I try to do. Just one person at a time, show them that there is a difference out there, that they don't have to follow the norm of everybody else, that it's all okay. And I just appreciate everything you're doing, and keep it up, brother.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Appreciate that. I always appreciate the encouragement. Let's go to Jim in Illinois. Jim, you're up next on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. I agree with you 100%, brother. You know, Kevin, every time I hear this type of story, I'm always taken to the first chapter of the book of Romans where Paul says, professing themselves to become wise, they became as fools. And God turned them over to reprobate mind. A lot of people don't understand, Kevin, and I really believe this. Homosexuality isn't something we're going to get judged for.